Hi, I'm Bhairavv, and for this season of ArtSparks, I was asked to pick 8 objects from the map collection that I was really curious about or had many questions about.
And I'm Shilpa. Today we are going to be looking at this incredible textile that Bhairavv has chosen for us and try to answer many of his questions. So, welcome to ArtSparks. What were your first impressions of this textile, Bhairavv?
Well, I thought it was very interesting and very different from like the usual textiles that I've seen because there's just so much going on, and you can see that every single element in this textile is different from the other.
You're entirely right that each of them are like different a little bit in some sense or the other.
Yeah.
And this is effectively because it's a handmade thing.
Yeah.
Right? So this is actually an embroidered textile.
Yeah, that's what I thought because everything is different. So that's not usually how things are printed. So
Yeah. If you look closely, you can kind of see the base cloth, right? And what do you think it would feel like to touch?
Well, it looks a bit rough. It's definitely not smooth at all.
Yeah.
Because it's quite separated. Even the embroidery on all the figures, it looks quite rough to touch.
This type of embroidery uses what is called khadar
Okay.
as its base in general. And that's like a hand-woven, hand-spun, hand-dyed material as well. And you're totally right, it's always coarse. You can also actually see here, you see this like line, right? Going
Right.
through. And you see another one there.
Yeah.
So it also tells you actually that this is not one large piece of cloth. So they've actually stitched together 3 panels, right? To make up this very big shawl that you see in front of you.
Yeah.
Another super interesting thing about this tradition is that they actually do the embroidery from the back. So they do it on the reverse.
Okay.
So if you look closely, you can see kind of just how you only see the outline.
Right.
Right? And that's the really like cool part, but also the super painstaking part, because they would have to count each of the threads on this base cloth, and they count the warp and the weft, as they kind of draw the figure or stitch the actual designs that they want. And if you lose count, then it kind of basically will, it won't end up the way you want it to. So it really takes a long time and a lot of patience to make this happen.
I like how detailed it is because of that. Like, if you think how every single like tiny line of thread is like painstakingly put, and they'd have put like so many minutes into that, into like counting each one. It makes the detail seem even more. And I like the theme as well. Like in the center, you can see these 3. Everyone else seems to be like revolving around there, maybe.
That's
and I
interesting.
kind of think of them as like a father, a mother, and like a child. So I've heard in Rajasthan there's a village that celebrates the birth of a girl child by planting a tree.
Oh.
So like there's the celebration that comes. So this kind of reminds me of that. So if you take this as a father, mother, and a child, maybe the child is just born, and maybe like everyone is celebrating that. Kind of like a scene that they're showing with this whole thing. It reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's a really nice interpretation. So this is a tradition called fulkari, which literally means flower work.
Okay.
Fulkari, and it comes from the region of Punjab. So Punjab, both in India and Pakistan, so what used to be like East Punjab and West Punjab, it's practiced there. And it does have links to like this idea of gift giving and celebration, right?
Okay.
So it's actually quite an important part of like weddings in Punjab. Part of gifts that are given to the bride, part of wedding trousseaux, and they would also make these fulkaris to give to relatives, give to their children. So it does have a long history, and can be very much seen in that spirit of celebration that you're talking about.
Right. So we talked about how it's handmade, right? So who usually makes fulkari?
That's a really good question. So the fulkaris are actually made by the women of the household.
Okay.
And it's this kind of like, in many ways, it's a collective making process. So you would have like all of the women coming together. And obviously we've discussed that this is a very labor intensive sort of like job. But they would do that in their leisure time, right? So actually their leisure time was not a very leisurely activity, but they kind of had like, it was also space for them to sort of unwind, to talk to each other. They would sing songs and work. And it's this whole space where within like homes, right, they were making these.
Right.
It was also part of generally the growing up sort of, the rite of passage for young girls who would learn how to do the embroidery from their mums, their grandmoms. So, coming back to this idea then, if we're talking about the birth of a child and this being a celebration, maybe we can look a little bit more. What do you think, something like this? Like, what do you think this would have to do with the celebration? What do you think that is?
I have no clue what that has to do with the celebration, but all I can think of is this being like a snout, these being ears, those being wings. So it's maybe like a fairy, and it's a boar.
A boar?
A boar fairy, that they're calling to bless the child's.
It's interesting that you thought this is a wand, because I was actually thinking this is a flower. And like if you look at that one there, right, with the like star on the top.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was like maybe like a wand. So there's a lot of stuff to see, right? What do you think this is?
I can't think of anything except a table tennis racket and a brinjal. I don't know what either of them are doing here.
I didn't think of the table tennis racket at all, I have to say. I just went brinjal, also because of the color.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if, for example, the people who were embroidering this particular piece, maybe they just really liked brinjal.
Maybe. That looks like something out of a video game.
Yeah, like I guess it's like also because it looks like the geometrical, like pixelated stuff that you see in video games.
But I guess maybe you could think of it like a frog.
Yeah, that's kind of hopping away to get something. Another really like cool thing to look at, this one, right? What does that look like to you?
So this kind of reminds me of one of the things from one of the other episodes, the one with the mica paintings. There was the seller in that who was holding a similar rod with like things on both ends.
Yeah.
I think if you look closer, you can think of these as kind of like small dolls or something. So maybe they like sell toys.
Yeah, that's cool. I thought it was really weird because I thought there were people sitting in them. But there is a story about it, something to check out. There's an actual mythological tale about his name is Shravan and he carries his parents like that.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, it could even be really a reference to that. And then, of course, there's that.
That's a train.
Right? Which is obvious.
So how old is this then?
So this is from the early 20th century.
Okay.
So early 1900s, let's say. And that would be a cool thing, right? At the time, trains would have been new.
Right.
It's new technology. It's amazing that it can take you across so much distance in so less a time. And you see this in other textiles from that period in different forms as well, where these modern inventions that people saw around them started making their way into the designs and motifs, right?
Right.
So if you think of this as a group of women sitting and embroidering, for them the train would have been something that was now part of their lives, something that they were fascinated by, and so it also finds its way into this piece.
Right. That's cool. So do all fulkaris show like similar tales from mythologies, people, animals, or are there fulkaris that show other types of things?
Actually, this is quite rare.
Okay.
So this type of fulkari is known as the Senchi fulkari, and it usually shows like village scenes. There are mostly just two types of fulkaris that tend to show human figures. A lot of them focus on more geometric designs, maybe some flowers and floral stuff as well. And there are like several types of fulkaris. So like I said, this one is called Senchi, but then you have what is known as a Bagh fulkari.
Okay.
So Bagh means garden. And in those, you can't even see the base cloth. So what they do would embroider all over the cloth. So all you'll see is the embroidery. Like you'll only be able to see the base if you turn it around. There's the Chop fulkari, which is known for these distinctive like triangular patterns.
Okay.
And is done on usually like a maroon base, which is also the sign of like, auspiciousness and so on.
Right.
So you have a whole bunch and they're all known for specific kinds of designs.
That's nice. And so we talked about this piece being like from the early 20th century, right?
Yeah.
Are fulkaris made even today in Punjab or anywhere? Are they still made?
Yeah, very much so. They are still made in Punjab. They're still very much a part of Punjabi weddings and things like that.
Okay.
Traditionally, the fulkaris were made like these, right? Like big shawls. But these days, with like printed fulkaris,
Right.
they use the patterns from them on all kinds of things. So you'll have like cushion covers, you have bed sheets, duvet covers, that sort of stuff as well.
It's nice to have seen so much detail in person, because when I was looking at all the artworks in the museum site, you couldn't really see it in very much detail.
Yeah.
But like coming here, it's nice to be able to look at, you know, the texture, all the details, the vastness in just one piece. It's pretty cool. I thought this Fulkari was a really playful piece that really made me think. What does it make you think of? Also, if you're curious about what else I picked from the map collection, check out the other episodes in the series.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel to make sure you get regular updates on all our Art Sparks videos. And also don't forget to follow us on our social media handles to stay updated with everything that MAP does.
Thanks for watching.
Bye!